Okay, so here we are back with German turn 2, and if you remember from last turn, Germans got artillery on them, got pinned down, didn't have any shots last turn, but they're hoping that this turn here they can provide themselves with some opportunities to unleash some firepower and hopefully have some exploded Russian tanks. Before they can do that though, they need to do the starting step. In the starting step, this is where you kind of do your maintenance. You take care of any business that needs to be done before you start doing any new sort of actions. So if you recall, the platoon that's down here on the left-hand corner was pinned. So what they need to do is rally from being pinned. And rallying from being pinned is a motivation test. They are fearless veteran. Veteran is their skill, and fearless is their motivation. Fearless, again, is the best in the game. Fearless is a 3+. So anytime they need to make a motivation check, they need a 3+ save. So they're well motivated. So being pinned by artillery typically doesn't bother them. On a 1 or 2, they're going to stay pinned. On a 3+, they're going to get up and go. So let's give that a roll. Alright, so they rolled a 3. So you can see that. There's the 3 there. So that means they are motivated. That means you remove the pinned down marker. You don't remove the ranged in marker though, because that is actually not your marker, that's your opponent's marker. That just reminds you that that area is ranged in. So perhaps you want to move out from that area if the threat of artillery is still prevalent. Now we're done the starting step. We have no other teams to deal with in the starting step, so we go on to movement. I'm going to go through this movement step a little bit quicker because you've already seen one movement step. So here's what we're going to do. We know that the tanks don't have any shots right now, not even at the double teams, but we are going to move the tanks and see what we can open up for lanes of fire. First Tiger tank, keep in mind that they only move 8 inches. They're slow tanks. It's going to move right down to the edge of this crossroad. There. Second one is going to move, and he's also going to sort of skirt out around to this area. Off the road and ending up here. Whatever facing he so chooses. That takes care of the movement for the tanks. You see one's kind of in tree cover, one's sort of in the open on the crossroads. The second one, the second platoon to move now is going to be the trucks. They're going to continue moving up just in behind those vehicles. Keep in mind they go 12 inches on the road. So finally they got a little bit of movement. They got those slow tanks out from in front of them. And they can really start huffing her down the road. Keep them a little more spaced out now because that threat of artillery is around. And infantry and trucks is not quite as protected as infantry on the ground. Now the other guys here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them up and out, but I'm going to actually move these guys at the double. So we talked about moving at the double. Now, when I talk about coherency, they're veterans, so they have 6 inches between each team. So they can sort of really move out, but they need to make sure that there's no more than 6 inches between them and a neighboring team. So, like I said, I'm going to move them at the double. And I'm going to 12 inches. Now, what's going to happen here is I'm going to run into this bocage. It is clearly under 12 inches to get there, but because it's bocage, I need to stop adjacent to it. And I can't move over till the next turn, or if I'm lucky enough to get a stormtrooper, I can go over it. This guy's going to run, move at the double here. This guy here, moving there to there. He's going to jump over. Everybody appears to be able to get to the bocage, exception of maybe this last guy. This last guy doesn't quite get there. He's going to be stuck on the road. And that ranged in marker is going to stay right there for now. Although at this point, you can actually remove this because you're not going to reoccupy that position, and your opponent is not going to be silly enough to call another artillery bombardment on nobody. So they moved at the double. So what we know about the double is they are done basically doing anything that they can. And I mentioned stormtrooper only because I mentioned it in the first turn. But teams that move at the double cannot stormtrooper. So you can't get 12 and then 4. So keep that in mind. You get stormtrooper normally, but when you move at the double, you lose that stormtrooper opportunity. So they're actually going to be stuck on that linear obstacle for a turn. And that could prove to be good, could prove to be bad, depending on what the Russians do and what the Germans can do in their shooting step. Alright, so movement is entirely done. Now we're going to go on to shooting. So we're going to zoom in, we're going to have a look at what the tanks can see, and we're going to go from there. If they got shots, great. If they don't have shots, well, then they perhaps are going to stormtrooper into a better position, or maybe stormtrooper into some cover. So let's see what they can do.